The True Life Teen Podcast, where teens from St. Joan of Arc Church in Powell, Ohio, are exploring the teachings of Blessed John Paul II's theology of the body.
Welcome back to our podcast here from True Life at St. Joan of Arc in Powell, Ohio. And Anna, you have the next question that's coming from our teenagers in our 8th grade.
Yep. It asks, why does the Catholic Church want purity so badly?
Who wants to handle that one? Karen?
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Woo.
Okay, so if we go back to the beginning of why we were created, that we were created in the image and likeness of God, that Adam and Eve were created as man and wife, as man and woman, and in unity, it's to procreate new life and to create new love out of life. So the Catholic Church, when we say, why is purity so important? Our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and we have to treat our bodies like a temple. If we do things to our bodies that would desecrate the temple of the Holy Spirit, that would make it impure, and impure of a vessel to be holding the most pure God. So I think that one of the biggest reasons is to treat our bodies like a temple, to not, when we talk about drugs or alcohol or sex, not do things to our bodies that would harm our bodies, because in the end, God ultimately made us in His image, in His likeness, and that we need to continue to progress down that path.
I think one of the good things about the theology of the body, which is what we're kind of touching on here, is that it takes away a lot of the mystique and the guilt, maybe, of all the sexuality that kind of came across in the 60s and after the sexual revolution. The idea being that there's good attraction between male and female because God created us that way. Okay, so where's the line between what is good and what's holy and what's righteous and what's pure, and then what is lustful and what's desirous and what's usury and all that? And that's the thing, is I think in the past we've been too harsh on the side of saying, oh, this is bad, this is evil, it's repressive, we have to, push this down and not think about it. The Church would say, like, the importance of purity is that first discovery of the other person, that you want to have a pure relationship so that when you marry the other person, you're both bringing 100% to the table. You haven't given some part of yourself away to somebody else in the past, and then it's not available for the other person. So the Church is insisting on purity, not out of an idea of like, oh, we don't want you to have fun, we don't want you to be normal, we don't want you to have all these things that other people do, but we want you to be able to bring 100% to the sacrament of marriage so that you've got 100% to give. Because you can see from the last years with the divorce rate and all that we've drifted away from that. People just get divorced every day now, and the Church wants to uphold the sanctity of marriage and basically say, let's do everything we can to make sure we can keep the marriage together. And a large part of that is being sexually pure going into the relationship. So you're looking for the best chances to survive as a married couple down the road. You're looking for the best chances to survive as a family so that you can have children within that marital bond. And that's what the Church wants, is the best options and the best chances for you. So it may sound like the Church is being like a parent that's saying, don't do this, don't do that, stop now, stop here, and drawing all sorts of lines real short. But the reason is we have the best interest in mind, that we want the best option for the family to stay together and for the couple to really, truly be involved completely in marriage when they have the sacrament.
And I think also that the Church understands and sees that when God created us, He gave us His gift, and our gift is purity, and our gift is that purity in virginity. And when you are married and when you do enter that covenant, that's a treasure that you share with each other. And I think that's also an understanding that if you just treat that as not a gift, it's just a piece of garbage, and you just kind of toss it around, throw it away, give it to, share it with everybody, it doesn't have that sacred tone of a treasure anymore. It's kind of, instead of a piece of gold, it's, copper.
Thoughts, Anna?
I know what I've seen with purity is I have one friend who she had sex her first time in 8th grade or something like that, really early, and every relationship since has ended in heartbreak for her. She's never had that same connection with the guy or even a good relationship. She's been in a couple abusive ones. and I look at her, I'm like, she like asks me what she can do, and I just want to look at her and be like, just stop having sex. Like, it's not that hard.
You know, and a good way to look at that also is the physiological part of it, that, you know, all these endorphins and everything are released in your mind when you're involved in the marital act, you know, and that's part of what God put in there to make you bond with the person you marry. So if you're doing all this outside of marriage, and you're mimicking marriage without actually having the sacrament of marriage, you're bonding to these people and then ripping apart, and then bonding and then ripping apart. And it's like if you take a piece of tape or whatever and you start sticking it together with another piece of tape, at first it's like really strong bond, but if you pull it apart and stick it together and pull it apart and stick it together and keep doing this over and over again, it loses that stickability, you know? And that's what we're seeing in the divorce rate and all that in the United States and in the world, is this idea of like, okay, well, sex is for everybody, and you just have all these partners in sex, and so you keep doing this stuff until you find the perfect person to marry. Well, by the time you get married, all those hormones and oxytocin and everything that's released in your mind has been done over and over and over again. You've imprinted this idea of a sexual mate and a spouse on so many other people that you have very little to give to the person you actually commit to. And so it's not that we can't have second virginity and God can't heal us of that, but it's not the best possibility for a good marriage that's going to stay together. That kind of makes sense? That's sort of what the church is saying about it. So it's less of the church being sexually repressive and saying, oh, don't act out on your feelings and your thoughts and stuff like that, and don't be quote-unquote normal, as it is, again, the church saying, we want you to have the best possibility. We want you to have the best of all these worlds. So what's our next question on there?
Okay, the last question is, how far, sex-wise, is too far to go before marriage?
Again, another good springboard for what we were talking about before, that if you think about it, you don't want to be doing anything that's mimicking the sacrament of marriage when you haven't made that commitment. So, you know, I was saying before we started here, in the marriage vows, when you're making these promises at the altar in front of God and all the people, you know, you say often, to have and to hold, to love and to cherish, you know. And so having and holding is a large part of being married. It's a large part of stuff that's a little bit outside of the sexual realm, but it's the bond between two people. It's kind of part of the unitive aspect when the church talks about the unitive and the procreative. It is really part of the unitive, that you're growing together as one. And so if you're mimicking things that are privileged to a married couple while you're dating, you're kind of being false about the relationship. You don't have the guarantee, you don't have the promise, and you don't have the safety net of the actual sacrament. And at the same time, you're kind of like dabbling in it, like pretending to be married. So, you know, Carrie, we had talked a little bit about it, and maybe we can address it a little bit more after the break, but what are some specific lines maybe that Jason Everett talks about in the Theology of the Body for Teens, you know, about what kind of advice can we give the teens that are listening or watching out there about where are these lines that we can help draw to make sure that the relationships stay as chaste as they possibly can?
So there's a list of 10. Pray for purity every morning. Don't repress sexual desires, but pray for their redemption. Say 3 Hail Marys. Start off with 3 Hail Marys. Those are a great way to begin. Avoid impure relationships before they begin. And once you're in a relationship, avoid places and situations in which you're likely to fall to sin. Know your boundaries before you're tempted, and make sure your date knows them before you even date the person. This may mean you need to have a specific discussion about it. Choose friends who will help you grow in purity. Double date or group date with friends who have high standards. Get rid of impure music, magazines, and TV shows. If you want to be trashy, just look and think about trash.
That's a trash.
But if you want to be good, look at and think about good things. St. Paul says, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Listen to the advice of your wisest friends and family members who are committed Christians.
And your youth ministry podcasts.
True.
And?
Go to confession at least once a month. And lastly, if these things are going too far with this person, do not be afraid to say no.
No.
Very good.
Just
No.
say
Big
no.
N, little O. No.
So Jason also has some suggestions for what to do if you're in a bad situation. How do you maybe stop the situation? So what's the list there, Carrie?
First, say a quick prayer for strength, and then immediately act. You could say things like, if you love me, you won't pressure me. I respect you too much to do this with you. I really like it, but I want to fall in love for the right reasons. I can't do this. My parents would kill me.
And I would, as a parent.
So would I. And we need to stop.
Very good. So there's some immediate suggestions you can use, some lines you can use. But the other thing, St. Maria Goretti, she died for purity and for chastity, and she's a great prayer partner. So if you find that you're in a situation, just maybe fire off a quick prayer. Maria Goretti, through your intercession, help us to get through this or whatever. Give me the words I need. And then, of course, St. Joseph's the most chaste spouse, and so he's a great patron saint to pray to as far as purity goes as well.
Have fun. Do things that are natural.
It's not fun.
Yeah, go roller skating.
These sound like some,
I
harsh.
think we need to bring back roller skating.
These are some harsh lines.
Bowling. Go bowling.
Bowling is fun.
And when we come back from the break, we'll see what our teenager on the panel here thinks about some of these lines that we're, as adults, drawing for you. So we'll be right back after this break.